Dave, let's quickly sort of zoom back to 1996. Would you first and foremost say that's the pinnacle of your coaching career, or are there moments that have sort of superseded that famous Sri Lanka win?
Look, there were a number of series and individual games that are also just as good. No, not just as good. I have to say the World Cup victory obviously is a milestone. You know, it's something that doesn't come around very often, every 4 years, and then you got to beat all the other teams to win it. So that is, something that's to be treasured with all the players and support staff in that particular year, and other years with other countries. But there's been some other, memorable games and series that I've been involved with. I've been very fortunate to be involved and coach some match winners in my time with Sri Lanka. The Jayasuryas and the Muralitharans. Amazing. I think I had Murali between 200 and 400 test wickets, and then coaches that came after me also benefited from Murali because he finished up with 800. Amazing.
The other day I saw Stuart Broad retire with 604, but then to suddenly realize Murali has 800.
Another 200.
A league of his own. And you spoke. Thank you for mentioning Jayasuriya, Kalu. As a coach, how do you coach someone like? And this is '96. This is way before baseball, way before T20. But what Jayasuriya did and what Kalu did in that particular World Cup was just unfathomable. And what was a coach's role? How do you sort of coach people like outliers such as Jayasuriya, Kalu, the way they played their cricket in that particular World Cup?
Okay, well, I know. I conducted every team meeting, so I know what was said. But in those two boys, they were aggressive, but they played proper cricketing shots, mainly, and they had the ability to do that, and not many do. So it was never a case of asking them to go out there and give us 8 to 10 runs and over. That was never ever said. My way of allowing them the freedom to do that was very simple. In a team meeting, that I would always say, now remember, the way we play, we could be 2 for none. Right? So it doesn't matter, because the next 5 batsmen, Kurasinghe, De Silva, Ranatunga, Mahanama, Tilakaratne, they're all capable of getting 100. So there's not to worry, And those 2 guys had the luxury of knowing that those 5 was behind them. And it all sort of culminated in a perfect storm, doesn't it? Because knowing these 5 others behind you are very good players, and you have the freedom to go out there and play in your natural game, knowing that we could be 2 for none, but it's okay, So, and by the way, the thought of opening with Kaluwithana and joining Samath was the brainchild of the manager, Juliet Mendes, who came up to me during the Australian tour just a month and a half ago, before the World Cup, and suggested to me, how if we open with Kalu? And immediately the light went on in a dark room, and I loved the idea to be, proactive and aggressive at the top of the order. And the first 2 games in that Benson Hedges World Series, Kalu won man of the matches. Not that they made 100 partnership together, but they really did break it open early and set the game up for us.
Talking about World Cup, we're not too far away from the next ODI World Cup. The last time it happened in India again. Sri Lanka obviously did really well to come straight to the finals, had a great first innings, and obviously India had the historic win. My question to you really is, in terms of workload management, how do you coach players today who are playing multi-format? There's so much cricket going on. We obviously see so many countries, especially Indian cricketers. Any thoughts on workload management, whether it's physical fitness, mental fitness, with so much cricket going around?
Yeah, I do have a fairly strong view on all that. I think the simple answer to that is you want your players ready and fresh for the game. Whether it's a series of matches, a bilateral series, or indeed a franchise, a T20 franchise, which we just had in Canada. And the amount of stress, as I said earlier, that each player goes through, they need space themselves. They just need to be able to refresh in their own way. And people are do it differently by putting demands on players and having them, practice when they don't really need to, or come for meetings when it really is not necessary. Sometimes these things are done to justify a coach's position, and you feel, oh, if I don't do that, I'm not doing my job. But in many instances, doing nothing is probably the best thing there is. But workload management, you need to know. You need to have a good communication with individuals to know when it's time to have a break. And it's always nice if you had a good bench strength that doesn't weaken the team when you're doing that. But certainly by allowing the space for players, you will get back more. And so more is not always better. Less can be better as well. So it's a real sometimes difficult situation to feel the pressure, feel the finger on the pulse to see when it's time. But certainly the underlying thing is each member of that team must be ready for performance and be fresh for each game.
Well said. And your sort of top 4 favorites, who are the 4 likely to make the semis based on what you're seeing right now? As
we discussed earlier, this limited overs format, teams surprise other teams on any given day. So, it's okay to say team A, B, C, D, they're going to play off, but you just never know. That all teams are becoming a threat to themselves, but given the conditions that we're likely to experience, certainly India and the subcontinental teams will shape the tournament. I feel that the winner could come from one of those, but you can't discount the Western countries as well. Australia is always competitive. England also plays a pretty decent brand of cricket, although they need to up their ante a little bit in the white ball. So it really, it's a brave man that'll say this team will win it, but I think it could come from one of the subcontinental teams.
All right, so once again, given conditions, and hopefully especially if India can manage workload, because again, there's still so much uncertainty around who is going to be playing in that final squad, but clearly conditions are likely to suit the subcontinent teams.
If you want to be luck as well, Prantik, and a little bit of luck, right? If there's due there as well, the toss will play an important part. But I believe it's all written anyway up there somewhere, and but you can't just sit back and say, well, it's that's fate. You've got to work hard and shape your victories and shape the future.
I had a couple of questions. You've had a very interesting sort of career where you've, like we discussed, you've coached big teams and then associate nations, and then tell us a bit more about coaching Baroda and taking that move to sort of come to domestic cricket in India, which obviously it's amazing what you're doing for Indian cricket, but your thought process and how different is coaching a Ranji side versus, let's say, a KKR versus a Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Zimbabwe?
Well, it's enjoyable, I have to say. I had 2 years in Baroda, and there were different challenges there. 3 with Kerala before that, and we had some wonderful success there. But all the boys in India, they're really keen to do well, and it's in the 3 different formats. I think it's really good. BCCI have got it right, I reckon, and a lot of people say that the competition isn't strong enough, but I reckon it's a good one. There's a lot of good talent running around in India, and to be witness to that, to see opposition boys also do well and your own team do well is very rewarding. As I said though, it does come with some challenges, and managing those things is not easy. It requires cooperation with everyone, but from time to time it becomes a little hard. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and maybe there could be some more in the future. I'm not sure. I'm just taking a break from that at the moment and enjoying doing these little smaller assignments, which allows me to move around a bit. But I've enjoyed it, and I think it's a good competition in India.